streaming. I think the streaming's working. Bah! Okay.
Oh, the
That's
hockey
working.
game's in 15 minutes.
It's 15th. Do.
Yeah, I know. You just told me on my other device.
It's Tuesday, January 15th, 2019. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, we are back to talk about the hot tabletop game, Root.
When did it come out? Like a year ago, right?
Yeah.
It's old. It's not.
It's getting hotter and hotter. It's sold out like everywhere.
I'm sure I can get one if I wanted it.
Yeah. Thing is, the girls have one. So I don't need to get one.
I definitely, if I got one, when would it get played? Anytime I'm going to play it, I can play someone else's copy.
That came out in 2018. No, the girl, if you can just pull out the Root signal and the girls will show up. They'll be like, you want to play Root? Root, you say? Boo! Okay. Guess our opening bit, this is easy. I got one opening bit, and then we'll get into like our MAGFest and stuff.
It's cold.
Back, holidays, etc.
Cold.
So something very important happened. A bridge north of us was blown up.
The Tappan Zee Bridge.
Yep. Now, there was nothing wrong with it. Like, it's weird. A lot of people kept saying, like, oh, that bridge sucked. Like,
it did suck.
How? What was bad about it other than the fact that it's way too far north because of nonsense politics?
So that bridge
and it was old and falling apart, but that
old and falling apart.
But it being old and falling apart never actually affected one's experience driving over it.
There was mad traffic because it didn't have enough lanes.
The new one, I don't think it has significantly more capacity.
It has twice as much, and it has a bike lane and a pedestrian path.
Right, there is the bike lane, but
the old one was one bridge. The new one is two bridges that are each larger than the previous bridge.
The thing is, I am in no position to ever take advantage of that bike lane anytime soon.
Why not? Just bike up there.
It's a ways up.
As soon as it's warm.
What's on the other side of it if you bike over it?
What do you mean? On one side is Westchester, and on the other side is like Nyack.
Yeah.
It's like Nyack to Piermont.
Yeah.
I've biked farther than that frequently.
I would rather bike over the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. That's the one I want a bike lane on.
No, that bridge sucks. It's tall.
I'm into it.
It's hard to bike over the Verrazano Bridge. We've both done it. It sucks.
Yep.
This bridge is not tall.
But yeah, there was a live stream. It got blown up. Bridges blowing up is actually not that interesting to watch.
Well, so originally they were like, let's blow up the whole damn thing. Then they're like, no, we'll hurt the fishes. So they were taking it apart one piece at a time, slowly, and then using the pieces to make reefs for the fishes out near Rockaway and other places. But then they're like, oh no, we were taking apart this one piece, and we heard a really loud noise, and we checked it, and the structure might not be too good, so if we take it apart slowly, it might just collapse while we're taking it apart slowly.
Yep.
So we're going to have to blow up this one piece, and then we can take it apart after it's fallen in the water.
But no, to be fair, that bridge was an old piece of shit in terms of engineering. Maybe next they got to work on the Whitestone and the Throg's Neck.
Yeah, right.
Those things are held up.
Man, if they blow those up, that'll be something to see.
Those two are held up, as far as I can tell, entirely by paint.
I feel like what they should do for the Whitestone and Throg's Neck, right, is they should make new bridges that go straight across.
Yep.
And then make two more bridges because they're so close to each other.
Oh, yeah, just make 1, 2, 3, and then get rid of the old two.
Right, well, make two, get rid of the old two, then make two new ones in an X shape. So you could start at one end of the, right, make like a bow tie shape with 4 bridges with like loops at all the corners. That way you can start on like the Whitestone and end on the other side of the Throg's Neck or vice versa. They're so close.
Yeah, but
they're like they're like, they might as well be next to each other.
The only reason I ever used one or the other because one of them had more traffic than the other one. Like, it was pretty random which one I ever used.
I would choose based on where I'm going on the other side. So like if I'm going northeast, I'm going to use a Throg's Neck because it's a little further out.
Yeah. Right?
And then if I'm going to like the baseball stadium, I'm using the Whitestone because it's right fucking there.
Yep, I was usually going northwest, so I ended up using the Whitestone.
Yeah, it's like where you're going is which one you're going to use.
So yeah, that Geek Nights quality content you're looking for. We're back talking about bridges. We haven't done a show in a while because it was the holidays. And we were all traveling and doing stuff.
And then it was MAGFest.
Yep, we had the New Year's party that we had to go to.
And now we're going to PAX South, so you're not getting another show till like next week.
Yep, we can only fit in one show between all these cons, and not too far after PAX South is PAX East.
That's kind of far out. You're gonna be getting shows in February and March.
Yeah, it's far enough out. We will be doing shows.
And the rest of January, you're gonna get shows, right?
Yep.
So rest of January, February, and March, there'll be Geek Nights.
So we are back from Super MAGFest. So I think it's worthwhile to. In the old days, we would do a whole show on every con we went to, but go to a lot of cons. Not a lot changes, but there's always notable things to talk about for any big con we go to. So MAGFest 2019 was better than previous MAGFests in a lot of ways, but MAGFest has a problem that's starting to grow.
MAGFest has always had a problem.
Yeah, but it's getting worse.
It's always been getting worse.
Yeah, it's getting worse.
Right, well, I mean, that's the thing with getting worse is that every time it's worse than the last time.
So here's the deal. MAGFest is like the only non-PAX gaming con we like. Like, MAGFest is better than the worst PAX in terms of the attendee experience, but it's not quite on the level of like a PAX West.
No.
But I really like MAGFest, and also MAGFest is unique. Some of the things that make MAGFest unique are really awesome, like the panel content at MAGFest, like especially if you want like academic.
Well, because MAGFest is a
content.
nonprofit, it has to justify its nonprofit status, so it does a lot of awesome things to justify its nonprofit status.
Like MAGFest panels are mostly fan panels, non-gaming or like just fun stuff, or they're like really like they're the kinds of panels that we do. There's other people doing the kind of stuff we do at PAXs at MAGFest. It's not just us. So the panels are great. Like I go to more panels at MAGFest than I do at PAXs. But what they don't have are like big serious industry panels so much.
They don't have big serious industry presence at all.
Yeah, but
it is all fan all the time.
Yep, which is both a pro and a con because like there's better content in many regards, but that content is often less polished, a little more raw. Like, PAX will have a super polished panel.
If the industry came to MAGFest, they'd be like, "We got to shut this shit down. This cannot be."
Yeah, like MAGFest, you'll go to
kill
a
it
panel.
with fire.
MAGFest, you'll go to a panel that's really good, but it's a little unpolished because the panelists are literally hungover or possibly still drunk from the night before. But I love MAGFest. I love going to MAGFest. And generally, like, the arcade was rocking this year. MAGFest traditionally had a problem where Thursday was pretty weak and Sunday was pretty weak. This year, Thursday was a full-on goddamn day.
Yeah, usually it's like, I told people, right? Show up to MAGFest late Thursday. Nothing happens early Thursday.
I got there at noon.
And leave MAGFest early Sunday. Everyone checks out of the hotel, and then the whole place is empty on Sunday. There's no reason to hang around. Get home.
Yeah, I got there at noon, and, like, tabletop's already bumping. Like, there's already panels going.
Yeah, so next year, got to get to MAGFest earlier on Thursday.
The Expo Hall said it would open at 2, and it opened at 2, and it was bumping.
And last year at last year at MAGFest, on Sunday morning, tabletop was 100% empty. It was just a ghost town. No one was there. This year, it wasn't bumping on Sunday.
But it was there.
There was activity on Sunday, and there was like the library was open. There were people there. You could play games in there on Sunday and not feel like you were wasting your time or that you should have gone home.
Like on Thursday, on the last day on Sunday when I went in, the arcade was still bumping, and like I still had to wait in line to play DDR.
Yeah, you always have to wait in line to play DDR or Initial D.
The time where you don't have to wait in line to play DDR or Initial D is between 5 a.m. and 10 a.m. That is the magic moment.
All right. I'll try to wake up early.
As I've said, I remember last year I was like, well, 2 a.m., it's too crowded. So if I wait till like 4 a.m., there's no way anyone's playing DDR. Nope, there's still a line. Good God, people. But really, the only problem with MAGFest now, like the fundamental problem, the only thing that I have to say, hey, MAGFest, you got to do something about this, is that there are way, way too few staff for that crowd.
You can't get more staff. It's not possible as long as MAGFest remains MAGFest.
And well, I think they could, but it's not my place to say because I am not staff at MAGFest. I don't officially represent MAGFest. I am just a guest at MAGFest. I show up to do panels and have a good time. But the fundamental problem, however MAGFest solves it, is a thing that PAX has got so solved.
Yeah, PAX is not 24 hours.
It's not.
And PAX has money. It's not a nonprofit.
But
in order for MAGFest to fix it, it has to A, stop being nonprofit, and B, stop being 24 hours.
I do think there are other ways to solve it because it's not
Get a lot of money from a generous donor.
It's not just that they don't have enough staff, because they have a lot more staff than people realize. Due to the nature of how they deploy their staff, the staff are, and the way the staff, like their staff uniform, and like the staff are largely invisible.
They could make minor improvements in that regard, but because it's 24/7, you need so many more staff.
But you need most of those staff. Like, the problem time seems to be...
Right, to do the job. Like, think about, like, one enforcer at PAX. They do an 8-hour shift each day, right?
Yep.
It's like, okay, at MAGFest, you need 3 people to do the same job.
Yep.
Because it's 24 hours.
At PAX, back when PAX went till 2 a.m., we needed 3 full shifts per day.
Yep.
And that
MAGFest it needs like 5 or 6 shifts to PAX's 3.
Yep. Now they could get away with a lot less staff if they had the staff that they had were deployed a little more broadly, and more importantly, they have to be way more visible, because a big part of why PAX has so many fewer problems of harassment and nonsense going on is that even if there aren't a ton of enforcers like in an area doing stuff, there's always an enforcer within eyesight pretty much anywhere you go. Like, even if it's a little
Well,
bit
it's
of
also
distance.
less physically sprawling than MAGFest, right?
Yeah.
All the PAXs, except for maybe West, right? But in West, it's like if you're in any of the official PAX areas indoors, there's enforcers about standing.
But part of this isn't even MAGFest's fault. So, for example, MAGFest did have a much better staff presence in the arcade, expo hall, console free play. Like, that area had a good...
That's the main zone.
Yeah, it had a good staff presence, and they handled things pretty well. The problem is one, the general convention center area has, if there are staff, I literally never saw any. And two, MAGFest is not responsible for having staff in the hotel lobby, and bad shit was happening in that hotel lobby.
Well, the hotel lobby is just an area that's connected to MAGFest, but has nothing to do with MAGFest.
The hotel needs to be on top of that, and MAGFest needs to bring the hotel accountable to deal with harassers and like...
Though there are panels in the hotel part.
Oh, no, I'm talking like the hotel lobby itself. MAGFest can't, like, the staff aren't going to maintain order in that area. The hotel seemed to be just turning a blind eye to it, and there were harassing pieces of shit. It was mostly like, I want to say 16 to 20-year-old white dudes who were just like, didn't even have MAGFest badges mostly, and were just harassing people. And it didn't seem like anyone was on top of that. But other than that, MAGFest was great, and like every other area of MAGFest stepped up its game. Like the arcade started on time.
Well, because most of the staff of MAGFest are curating and managing the content of MAGFest. It's like, you go to a panel room and it's like, there's people there running the panel rooms, right? You go to the arcade, there's people there fixing arcade machines. You go to the tournaments, there's people there running tournaments.
If
you go to a place in MAGFest where there's MAGFest content, and there are MAGFest staff who are running that content. There just aren't excess MAGFest staff just walking around. Every MAGFest staff member is like, you go to the museum, there's MAGFest staff in the museum running the museum. There's no MAGFest staff just walking around the hallway being staff. They don't have people for that.
And I think the shortest term solution would be MAGFest needs like 10 people per 8 hours, so spread that over 24/7 and make sure that people get breaks. They need a dedicated group of people whose sole job is to wear very visible I am a MAGFest staff person shirts and just walk slowly around and be visible. That alone would probably solve a huge percentage of MAGFest remaining problems that are visible to the attendees. And in terms of the invisible problems, who cares? Like, con staff just hides all that stuff and it's fine. Like, I remember all the problems attendees never found out about back when I ran everything at Kineticon. And that's right. That's how to do it. But MAGFest was a good time. We will definitely be back for Super MAGFest.
As long as they keep running MAGFest.
As long as MAGFest stands, we will be there because
we'll see how long it stands. What's the over-under?
I love the shit. I think MAGFest can survive the long run. I think it's the biggest danger to MAGFest is probably beyond MAGFest control, and it's the same thing that's a danger to all nerd stuff. Big mass shooting, big incident, like the incident that happened at ALA, that Anime Con that we're going to talk about on our next Wednesday show.
The fire.
Yeah, where basically one of those shitty harassing dudes set a bunch of cars on fire in the con parking lot because he was mad that a girl he was stalking wouldn't talk to him, essentially. Shit like that is a big danger. I'm really shocked incidents like that have not happened more often. They do happen, but big ones haven't happened as much as I expected. It's going to happen someday. And I don't know what the con world as a whole is going to do when it happens. Metal detectors are not the answer. I point out this is one area where MAGFest is objectively superior to PAX. MAGFest does not have security theater or metal detectors and probably never will. I really, really am disappointed that PAX has these bullshit metal detectors.
Yeah, and you'd think, it's like, MAGFest probably needs it if it wasn't theater.
Yeah,
you would argue that MAGFest needs it more than PAX does.
Yeah, being half music festival, half gaming con. If any nerd thing needed metal detectors that were real, it's MAGFest. Yet MAGFest is the one con that's doing it right. If they're not gonna have fake security. They're gonna have no security or the right amount of security, but they're not gonna have fake security. That's one area where PAX I think has deeply failed us is the fake security.
Yep.
So there is so much game industry news centered specifically around Activision Blizzard that we can't even talk about all of it.
There's too much.
And it's all evolving. Like a lot of it, we don't even know all the details yet.
Right. So the trigger, I think, is the Morhaime, the CEO of Blizzard.
This was a while ago.
Rizzo, he announced he was leaving, but now he's actually really left. Like, he gone.
Yep.
And I think because of that, it's like, all right, now the whole boat is going to get turned over. You got CFOs getting, like, kicked out. Like one or two of them?
Yeah, and it's like one of them ended up at Netflix. It's not really, like, it's not
There's some kind of shenanigans going on.
So it's not yet clear why these people left, specifically if they left because they were leaving or they were pushed out.
Right. There were some suggestions, though no proof, because it's, HR private info, that, like, the one who went to Netflix was, like, kicked out for bad, behavior. And it's like, Netflix, you shouldn't be, people were like, hey, Netflix, why are you hiring this person who was badly behaving, right? There were some suggestions of that. Who knows if it's true?
Yep.
No idea. Don't call me with your lawsuits of slander or whatever.
Yep. But Morhaime leaving was interesting, partly because...
Morhaime?
Yeah, Morhaime. I've never met him. I don't know really a lot about him.
He's the Blizzard guy. He's like the #1 Blizzard guy.
But basically,
has been until now. Now he's not a Blizzard guy.
All the statements about like his leaving are just super neutral, generic. Like he is leaving, period.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Read what gaming sites have to say about it. Not what ESPN has to say. Maybe you'll get more info.
Yep. According to the filing submitted this week on Monday, he's leaving the company on April 7th. Like he's actually leaving because when he announced his departure, he was then. And this is typical in many companies. He stuck around as an advisor for various, ease the transition, etc. There was no news release accompanying the filing, which simply read, I'm going to read the entire filing because it's short. As previously disclosed, on October 3rd, 2018, Michael Morhaime entered into an agreement with Activision Blizzard, Morhaime, pursuant to which he would provide strategic advice to the company in an advisory capacity.
Anyway.
His employment to the company will conclude on April 7th, 2019. Full stop.
Right.
That's it.
And also, so in somewhat related news, there was this an employee of Blizzard who was working in the Hearthstone eSports department, right, wrote this big, like, story of how awful their job was and how, it drove them to have so much stress and be depressed and contemplate suicide and all this stuff, and how HR didn't do anything, and how Blizzard presents itself as one of those companies that's doing it right. It's like, yeah, we're inclusive. Look at us. We're not evil like those bad game companies. But on the inside, still is not near perfect.
Yep.
Right? So it's just an account by the employee. You can go read it for yourself and gather from it what you will. I read the whole thing because it was actually written somewhat compelling way.
Yep, I'm linking to the Variety article, but there's a lot of articles about this thing.
Okay, so that's also in here in the Blizzard shakeup, right?
Yep.
And then on top of that, you got the newest news, which is sort of a double news. News number one is that, Activision Blizzard, they brought Bungie in after it got booted out of Microsoft or left Microsoft or whatever happened there.
Yep.
Right? And they got and then they went through all the trouble of getting Destiny into Battle.net. So it's like you're looking there, it's like Warcraft, StarCraft, Hearthstone, Destiny. Right? It's like, what's that one? One of these is not like the other. Right? And now they're kicking the Bungie out. It's like you went through all the trouble of bringing them in.
Here's the question. What's really happening? Are they kicking Bungie out, or is Bungie escaping Activision?
I don't know what's happening. It seems like there's so many shakeups going on there. Who knows what the hell?
And fun fact, we were talking about like Bungie and what's their deal, because as Scott said, well, we were preparing for the show.
Right. So if you don't know, Bungie is the company that made Marathon, which was an FPS for the Mac. All the people on Windows and DOS had Wolfenstein, Doom, and Quake. Right? The Mac people had Marathon.
I never played Marathon.
Marathon was basically like slightly better than Doom and nowhere near Quake. Right?
I literally never knew anyone who played Marathon because no one I knew had a Mac.
Anyone who had a Mac had Marathon because it wasn't on PC.
Who had and remember, this is 1994, so who had a Mac in 94?
Right. And then ironically, the people who made the Mac FPS ended up going to Microsoft to make Halo, the Windows and Xbox FPS.
So, funnily enough, before Marathon, I didn't realize they made Operation Desert Storm.
I never heard of that. I mean, I heard of the actual Operation Desert Storm.
Yeah, I played this
game. Not
game.
A game of the same name.
And a Minotaur Labyrinths of Crete and Pathways into Darkness, 91, 92, 93, and then Marathon, 94.
Right, Marathon.
So, I mean, full disclosure, I have never liked any game Bungie made, but I think they're good at, like, Destiny and Halo are very good at being what they are. Like, if you like that kind of game, like, they're great.
I have also never been a fan of any Bungie game other than Marathon.
But I respect the
Which
craft.
I played because when I went to schools and summer camps, they usually had Macs, and they usually had LANs, and we could play Marathon in LAN mode.
See, I just remember when Halo came out, all I could think was, wow, that is really sad compared to every PC FPS that I already play.
Right.
Like, what is this game and who would play it?
People who only had consoles in the U.S. mostly,
yeah,
who had played GoldenEye, which was worse than also. Which
yep, same deal.
Worse.
When GoldenEye came out, all I remember thinking was, wow, this game really
sucks.
sucks.
When GoldenEye came out, we had Quake 1, Quake 2. We're like, wow, what's up with that GoldenEye?
But
and then when Marathon came, when Halo came out, it's like, we got Quake 3 and Counter-Strike.
Yep.
What's with this Halo garbage?
But if you weren't a PC gamer, because back then PC gaming was not, like, even today it's not that accessible, but back then it was really not accessible. So
at least in the U.S. Other countries, they only had PC gaming.
But basically, like, I don't like these games, but these games are very important to gaming and are very well made.
In the U.S.
Yeah.
I don't think Bungie even today has like audience outside the U.S.
From what I've gathered, Destiny is pretty popular outside of the U.S.
Yeah, because I mean, even in places that do consoles like Japan, I don't think they're playing Bungie
Oni
games.
wasn't good.
I don't know what that is.
You don't remember Oni?
No, show me a picture.
You probably don't remember Oni.
I don't know what's.
You don't remember Oni?
I don't.
Even
know.
people in the chat are like Oni.
Oh, the box art. I remember that. Wasn't it just a third-person action walk around hit things game?
Yeah, I never actually played it.
I don't know.
But yeah, so a lot of the gaming press, like the undercurrent is that Activision has the worst reputation of the Activision Blizzard Bungie triad.
Why can't we go back to the Activision that published Pitfall for the Atari 2600? That's my Activision.
Yeah.
That's the good Activision.
And it was all downhill from there.
River Raid. That's good Activision right there. Mech Warrior 2, even then it was still good Activision.
Yet shockingly, River Raid holds up better than you would expect for
Among
an Atari
the Atari
2600
games
game.
Yeah, but I mean, Activision published Mech Warrior 2, right? That was still good Activision in those days, or 90s, right? Mid-90s, late 90s. You know, then Activision went to poop.
So on top of all this, investors into Activision Blizzard, full disclosure, I own a decent amount of Activision Blizzard stock. Investors are launching a possible fraud, like there's a fraud investigation around the Bungie split.
Why? Because they invested because Bungie came in and now Bungie's leaving? So
because I own some stock and I work in finance, I don't want to comment on this at all.
Okay, so I'll comment. So I guess they're accusing them of fraud. I guess the argument would be, I bought your stock because you told me Bungie was coming in, right? And now they're going out, and now the stock price went down. That's you lied to me, right? I didn't get what I was paying for. I'm mad. And so I'm suing.
Yep, essentially, and Variety had all the good articles about this, but there's an article about this specifically you can read to see what the deal is.
And then when they go to court, they'll probably like, you said this during the earnings call, and it's not true. That's probably the kind of stuff that they're going to go for, right?
Yeah.
You know?
There's all sorts of nonsense. So
this was in your annual report, but look, reality, Bungie going bye-bye.
Yep. So it's interesting.
I bought your stock based on false information.
This is the kind of stuff that happens when
false or misleading info.
A bunch of separate game companies, each of which is good at what they do, end up being together in the same company. And all of this is happening in parallel with the massive rise of esports, where actually I think Blizzard is doing the most prudent thing.
Well, they're actually, so for Hearthstone, they completely restructured the way Hearthstone esports works this year.
Yep,
like,
and
drastically, and they haven't even announced all of it yet. It's going to be nothing like it was last year, right? Who knows what the hell's going to happen with Overwatch League?
Yeah.
But, also a side news, Overwatch League did one thing, a small thing, but a big thing. small in scope, but large in effect
Nope.
that no sports league I know of, not even like NFL.
Oh, yeah, I know
has
what you're talking
done,
about.
Right?
I had a Gomergator coming at me about this.
That is fantastic. They made a single page that you can go to, a web page. That's just a web page, a small thing. That web page lists every instance of Overwatch League players being suspended, reprimanded, punished, why they were punished, what their penalty was, in the whole history of everything all the players have done bad. Can you show me like a page that's publicly accessible that's like every NFL player, all the fines and suspensions they got all year, forever, right? No, there's no such thing, right? Show me the list of like all the hockey players who got fined or suspended this year, how much, what it was for, right? No, it doesn't exist, right? Not at least not available to the general public on like one easy to use page. But for Overwatch League, they got it. Good job. A+.
So along those lines, something really funny happened, and I'll say, and this will be the last news. Then we'll get into Root that you're all waiting for. So one of our MAGFest panels, like we put the YouTube video out. It's there, and it was the top 40 games you should play, like the 40 games you should play. And one of the ones we said was Overwatch because it is the modern incarnation of like Action Quake 2 and Weapons Factory and TFC and like all those other games. Like it's the iteration of that kind of game that is playable today. And this Gomergator came into my mentions hard. And they're like, you said
just block them.
So because they followed the template and it was pretty funny. But basically, I discovered based on this Gomergator that a ton of shitty people are really mad that they have been banned from Overwatch because they were harassing people outside of Overwatch. Because Blizzard, not just in the esports thing, but they will go after people like their pro players who do shitty things even outside of the game. Like
Blizzard is doing a thing where they're gonna. I think I'm not sure if it's 100% implemented yet, but the story I heard was to go. You'll be watching, say, some Overwatch League on Twitch. And you want to chat in the chat room. You have to have, in order to chat in the chat room, they got like a plugin that will prevent you from chatting in the chat room unless you have your Battle.net account connected to your Twitch account with OAuth.
So if you get
which means then you can chat in the chat room. But if you say some racial slurs, say for example, they now have your Battle.net account.
Yeah, they don't just ban you from the Twitch chat now. They ban you from playing Overwatch.
Right, they can just ban you from Battle.net and lose all your Blizzard games. But won't people just like make a separate Battle.net free account? Because the accounts are free. And use that for Twitch chatting. And
so
then
another
their actual account where they bought $1,000 of skins and crates, wouldn't they not use that one for Twitch chatting?
So I'm not 100% sure.
Assuming they're intelligent.
But as best I can tell,
they're probably not that smart if they're racial slurring, but you get the idea.
The best I can tell is that if you are banned and Blizzard identifies that you have another account and it's actually yours, they'll ban them all.
They have to find them though.
Yeah.
Right? If I made a separate account called like Rim, and I used a VPN to go on Twitch, how would they ever know that that's what my real Battle.net account is?
But it appears to be working because a lot of Gomergate shitheads are really, really mad about this.
I mean, you can get suspended from school if you rob a liquor store.
Yeah, you can get suspended from school if you say racist stuff on Facebook.
Yeah, so.
All right. It's going to be the Root review. We're getting there. But anyway, things of the day. So AGDQ 2019 just happened. It was an A+ AGDQ.
It was hype.
I really enjoyed the
only negative thing I can say about the most recent AGDQ was that I was less impressed with the prizes. There's some prizes that I want. I usually donate the amount to qualify for the grand prize, even though I know there's no chance to win. I'm donating. What do I care, right? But because the grand prize is still something like, man, it would be cool to have that, right? This year, the grand prize was kind of admittedly amazing. It was like this replica Master Sword, like 2 scale plus Hylian shield that was like super legit, like wow. And definitely was more valuable than the amount you had to donate to qualify, which I think was $250. But I only donated 100 because, like, I really don't need that Master Sword. If I got the Master Sword, what was I gonna do with it? I'd probably eBay it and donate the money. Right? It's like, what am I gonna do with a fucking Master Sword? Nothing.
Cut yourself with it.
Right. It's like they didn't have, in the past, I would always be like, ooh, I want that. This time,
But Scott, imagine a younger you where the want swords meter is still really high.
Thankfully, young Scott did not have $250 to donate. Only maybe like $50.
But one of the AGDQ 2019 speedruns stood out above and beyond.
Me and Rim, so I haven't seen all the runs, obviously. There could be a better one. But me and Rim, of the runs we have seen, unanimously agree.
Oh, Lord, my
comment. What the best run of the week was.
My comment appears to be one of the top comments because basically, right after, because I didn't watch this one live, but I
watched it live, and then I watched it again.
I caught the tail end of it live.
To show someone else how good it was.
And as soon as it hit YouTube, I watched it. I've watched it 2.5 times now.
Well, you watch it more than me. Half time more.
My comment on YouTube on this video will say literally everything that needs to be said. He is the most entertaining runner in AGDQ history.
That's true.
Quote, there ain't no quiet time in this run.
That's right.
End quote. Goddamn. So
big up shout outs to Grandpa and Grandma.
Our boy, Dr. Fatbody, has injected a new level of hype and just amazing commentary. He is
it's not just that he has, right? Because I could go to GDQ and be hype. That's you know, I have that skill at least to some degree. Maybe not as much as the master Fatbody, but I could do that. He had the hype, and he was pulling off the sub-pixel frame-perfect tricks left and right.
Yup. And meanwhile, you know, because AGDQ, like, there's a culture, and the culture up to this point, all the runs have a similar cadence. Like, they're doing the thing, the couch is talking, and then the runner will be like, all right, time for the quiet time.
And the thing is,
like
when the run
tournament.
started, he brings out this enormous couch full of people, and I got this vibe of, oh, it's like one of those anime panels with too many people on it. He's even got a guy on a webcam on a laptop on the couch. He's basically on the virtual couch, and I'm like, oh no. I'm like, uh-oh. And then within 5 seconds, I'm like, oh yeah.
He takes a slower strat at one point to hit something because I do this for my little brother.
He crashes the game.
Because it's funny?
Because just to show you that it's a thing, even though it costs time, and then goes back to the level select screen.
It was the best balance, because I do enjoy runs that are like a super technical, like 4-hour run where the commentary is literally just, let's explain this glitch, let's explain this sub-pixel nonsense. This run was the perfect balance of amazing display of skill coupled with amazingly entertaining situations.
I would say if you want someone to like introduce them to like why does everyone watch this GDQ? Why do they raise $2 million every year? What's the deal with this? This is your first run to go to.
Yep.
Go for this run. The second run, if not this one, there was one. I don't know if it was the last Summer Games Done Quick. I think it was. If not, it was the one before that. It was definitely last year where they did a Strider run.
Yeah.
They did NES Strider, and the guy doing it had never done it before, but someone was sitting next to him teaching him how to do it. And this dude, he was a speedrunner, but had never speedrun NES Strider in his life. And they taught him the speedrun and then made him do it himself, and it's like a 5-minute run, so it's not a big deal. And that is like the perfect intro for anyone watching to the world of speedrunning.
Yep.
And like, how do you learn a speedrun? How do you do it? Right.
But like, imagine if up until this point, like you go to the PGA Tour and everyone gets quiet on the important putt. And then someone walks up and they're about to golf and they're just as good as everyone else. Like they're a contender and they turn around and they're like, everybody get loud before I make this putt.
Yeah, everyone just get hype. Gonna make the putt. Woo! Boom.
This speed, you gotta watch this.
I think the rules of golf actually disallowed that.
Yeah, probably. But Dr. Fatbody has elevated the bar of AGDQ commentary. So what do you got? What's your thing of the day?
So, you know how you all go to museum, right? And they're like, oh, such and such was restored, right? They restore stuff at museums, right? All kinds of old artworks.
Oh, that's your thing of the day. I saw that tab open and I didn't realize you sent it to me because I had it open myself already because I was saving it to be a thing of the day later.
Restoring, historic artworks, sculptures, paintings, right? But it's like, unless you do that, or unless you're in the museum business, it's like, wait a minute, I actually had no idea how they restore a thing. Like, right? What do you actually do, right? Like, what is the physical process? What happens? Here's a guy. He works at Baumgartner Restoration. I think it's like his company. And his job is restoring artworks. And there's a lot of videos on his channel showing him restoring mostly paintings. And
after I found the video you were linking to, I watched like 10 of his videos. They're really good.
But this one is a really good one because the painting is a painting on a piece of paper that is glued to a piece of wood and is ridiculously old and grody. And he You're like, what are you gonna do? Like, imagine me trying to restore this painting. Like, what do I do? Clean it with water?
Oh my God, the part
soap?
where he's like, I'm just gonna remove the wood.
I gotta get the paper off the wood. It's just like, imagine I can't even get a sticker off something I bought on Amazon. Right. This guy's gonna get a piece of paper with a painting on it that's glued to an ancient piece of wood. Right. Anyway, so he's got this painting, which is the Assassination of Archimedes, which is an awesome freaking painting, actually. And he takes it from its grody state and restores it to a magnificent state. This is a lot like watching those knife sharpening videos, and you get that same feeling of like, the cleaning and the restoring, but also a fascinating explanation of the process and what goes into it. And A+ to this whole channel.
Yep. One of the other ones I watched, it's the I think it's the restoration of the Mother Mary, which is another one that's on wood. But he wants to leave it on the wood for reasons. He talks about why. But he starts and he's like, so I'm starting with the face, and normally professionals do the face last because it's the most important part, but this video will be more entertaining if I start with the face, and also I'm really good at this, so that's not going to be a problem.
Also, he has to like touch up the paint, and he's like, yeah, we got this erasable paint. It's like, I'm like, what? He's like, if someone in the future decides that, I didn't do a good job, because like he's like obviously not trying to paint over any of the paint that's already
not like
there.
that famous Jesus that the lady messed up real bad.
Right. And he's just trying to fill in the blanks as closely to what the real artist did, right? Taking instructions from the person who owns the thing, who's paying for his services, right?
So it seems like the theme.
He's like, I always use erasable paint. That way, if someone buys this painting in the future and then doesn't like what I did, they can erase it and do a different thing.
So the theme this week,
without erasing the paint from the original.
I want to try a new thing, Grable's style. So regardless of what our things of the day are, I think we can always come up with a theme based on what we both picked. The theme this week was, or this episode, masters displaying the height of their craft.
Sure.
In the meta moment, the book club book that we haven't gotten to because we've been busy is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I said we would read it, and I lied. I was wrong. We did not read it. I haven't read any pages of it since I said that.
I've been too busy. Stay tuned.
Way too much shit going down.
None of you read it either. I know you didn't.
They have. Someone has.
Someone like
the thing is, I feel like the people are either. I don't feel like there's people like us listening. I feel like the listeners who care about book club read it right away, and the listeners who don't care about book club don't read.
I found a lot of people.
They're bad.
The people I've talked to, what they tend to do.
There's not a lot of people like us who read eventually.
People don't. The people who really care about our book club don't tend to check what we're doing now and read it because they know our history. Instead, they'll go into the archive of the book club, pick a book that looked good, read it, and then listen to that episode.
That's good because at least you're reading. As long as you read books, you get an A+. If you don't read, you get an F-. There's not like a lot of in between. Even if you read eventually like we do, you still get the A+.
So we were just at MAGFest. We did 3 panels there. One of them, which is a brand new panel, is already on YouTube. I'm going to link to it. You can just go watch it right now.
Wow.
The other 2 panels will be on YouTube at some point in the near future.
That's good. We're going to record at least a panel at PAX South and put that online.
Yep. I don't think we're going to record Learn and Win Carcassonne because
we already did that.
We already did it. We don't need another video of it.
No, we'll just concentrate on teaching Carcassonne.
Yep. But the video of that one's online.
Right.
So
also, we were supposed to do this towards the end of last year, and I told Rim about it months in advance, but he still didn't make time, even though I was on vacation all week. So after we got back from MAGFest, or just before. Yeah, after we got back from MAGFest, we recorded Judging Anime by Its Cover, which somehow this show has lasted like over a year. I guess we actually...
It's really fun to do.
We keep doing it, even though it's, whatever. But yeah, we did it for the winter season of anime. There's already like 2 episodes out of most of the shows for this season of anime, but we haven't seen any of them, so we're doing a fair pre-judging. And I guess that's kind of okay, because once I upload it, I've only got a little bit of work to do. Hopefully I'll do it tonight and get it uploaded tonight if I can. If not, tomorrow.
Yep.
And then once that's up, you will be able to see our prejudges of the anime coming out this season. And
there's some good stuff coming, too.
There'll be like 2 or to maybe even 3 episodes for you to just watch right away if something we talk about sounds good.
And last and least, well, not least, this weekend, the reason there's going to be no show on Thursday, we are going to be at PAX South, where we mentioned
that already.
We are going to do 2 panels, but specifically the new one. So we're doing Learn and Win Carcassonne.
We talked about that already.
And we're doing a new one, Nostalgia versus Game Design.
It's Rim's idea. I'm not too hype on it, but I get a free badge.
40 Games was also Rim's idea.
And I wasn't too hype on it.
I was hype on it, and I think it went really well.
Hype on anything.
There have been panels I've not been hype on.
Anyway, I really want to do my games are harmful panel. But
I'm putting that one in for PAX East.
All right, let's do it.
But
the big stage.
So at PAX South, we will be doing 2 panels. So they will be our 50th and 51st PAX panels, and they will both be
what
on
about panels total?
My birthday. Panels total. So I have the list of all of them.
Everyone, please bring edible birthday gifts for Rim that I should eat.
Yes.
That I will eat them.
Yes.
And Rim will not eat them.
No, that we will both eat.
Bring a cake, a birthday cake that says Rim and has, what, 37?
I want to say
the number 37 on it and 37 candles, and then I will eat the cake.
I feel like we have done, I want to say 370 panels total ever.
So you can watch a GeekNights panel every day for a year and not run out?
It's terrifying, because remember, there were old days where we'd go to an Otakon and do like 8 panels. There was one Kineticon where we did like 20.
All right. So yeah, go and find us on the internet if you maybe discovered us at MAGFest or something, or who knows. Or discovered us through YouTube. I don't know. Go to Google, type GeekNights. You will find us and our content on every single website that has content. We even got an Instagram, which I keep saying I'm going to start using it, and I forget.
We even have a G+, even though that's going away imminently.
We don't have that anymore. We had a Tumblr, too.
I stopped updating the Tumblr and the G+.
Right. The Facebook updates automatically, but even though you should probably delete your Facebook, that's the only reason I don't delete my Facebook is so that page doesn't disappear.
Nope.
And even though Instagram's owned by Facebook,
I'm pretty sure.
We got Twitters. We're most active on Twitter and our forum. You should go to and sign up in our forum. There are no Nazis.
I'm pretty sure our forum is rocking and there are no Nazis in the GeekNights forum.
If you try to apply to the forum and get rejected, apply again and just make sure when you write your reason for applying, you write something that makes me know that you're a human who listens to GeekNights and not some robot from Russia.
Yep. So, and our Tumblr is probably flagged as porn and going to be deleted anyway.
Right.
So.
I wonder what happened to my Pixel Meat Tumblr.
I'm pretty sure that's also porn.
All right, what people waiting for? Now we're going to talk about Root for the rest of the show.
Yep, Scott has finally played Root.
Well, I played it many times. I've played it at least 3 or 4 times.
Yep, I've played it a bunch of times as well.
I can't remember. I've either been green twice. If I've played it 4 times, I was green twice. If I played it 3 times, I was green, then I was the raccoon, and then I was the otters.
I've been the Woodland Alliance, and I've been the birds multiple times.
I get the idea of how the birds work, though I don't know the details because I haven't been the birds.
The birds are so fun.
I only vaguely get the idea of how the cats work because I've played against the cats every time, but I've never been the cats, and I know nothing about the lizard folk.
I didn't even read the rules about the lizard folk, but I know how every other faction works.
I know nothing about the lizard folk other than that there are lizard folk.
So here's the deal.
And that supposedly they're not that good.
Root is the new hotness. It came out last year in 2018, and it like sold out immediately. It keeps getting reprinted.
PAX Unplugged, it sold out. They even sold out of the raccoon plushies.
Yep.
The vagrant plushies, vagabond, whatever.
Root got real big and popular in a hurry.
It is popular big time.
Yeah. And that's interesting for a number of reasons, because if I had to, before we talk about what Root is like, you have to understand that the designer of Root is Cole Wehrle. And if you don't know who that is,
from Letter Games,
all the other games that Cole Wehrle has done are the ridiculous, weird, nonsense historical games that we play almost as experiments, like John Company or An Infamous Traffic, which Scott hasn't played, but you should. It's fun. Pax Pammer, which I haven't played.
Oh, one of the PAX ones?
Yeah. You played Pax Pammer, I think.
No, I played Pax Porfiriana.
Oh, Porfiriana. Yeah, anyway. Those kinds of games. Like
old, crusty war games that you would only expect someone with a long beard and a large belly and a broken chair to take off the shelf at the game store.
No, but not war games.
The ones that are on the shelf near the Napoleons and the Rommels right, in the back.
But they're not war games like, here's a bunch of chips that represent the stubble on Rommel's. These are more like, here is a detailed simulation of the opium trade in China, and you play European shitbags who are trying to literally buy fancy hats to increase their social standing, and the terrible costs to China and the opium trade is just a side effect of that.
Any game that this person made other than Root is something you would never get on any table of normal, non-crusty gore gamer, grognard players.
Our friend Chris will bring these to the table, and I love these games, but they are an acquired taste.
Right. Mostly because, as we've now learned, the theme of them is crusty. Root is just another one of those games. It isn't really mechanically different at all. It's just that they put cute animal forest critters on it instead of putting crusty old war generals on it. And
or crusty old, literally there's no war involved, it's just trading opium.
Right.
So this game, Root, is a combination of a highly political, extremely asymmetric kind of war game where literally every player is playing with completely different rules.
There are a few rules you share in common with other players, right? Which is that, like, you're just trying to get to 30 points. That's like the default victory condition. Get to 30 points and win.
Yeah, but you
and the default rules are like, if you do something on the board, like every piece of cardboard on the board you hit gives you like a point.
Yep.
And that's like true for everyone, right?
But like
everyone has similar like combat fighting rules because you can just fight your dudes.
But like one faction gets points by building things on the board. Another faction gets points by just selling things in their shop.
Yep.
Another faction gets points. They're not a faction. They're one dude, just one raccoon wandering around in the woods.
And they get points for helping other people.
Or potentially just fucking murdering people in the night.
Or just getting items.
Yep. One of the factions is a lizard cult. I don't know what they do. I've never read their rules.
I don't know.
So like everyone's playing with these completely different rules.
It's like you're playing your own game,
Yep.
right? You just happen to be on the same board, and the only thing you share in common with the other players is that board where like the rules are all the same, right? Like that raccoon guy, it's like your whole game is controlling this one dude, but if you fight, you're a dude.
Yep. Now, the game's not super complex. Most of the people who say it's complex have just never actually played a complex game before.
I think it's complex for normal people.
It's complex for normal people.
It is definitely above the heads of a lot of people, but it is not above the heads of someone who is a nerd who can listen to a GeekNights.
But I've also realized, having played it a bunch of times now...
If you can go to a gaming convention, it is not above your head.
Well, here's the more important thing. The reason so many people think it's so complex is that it is a very difficult game to teach simply by the fact that it's so asymmetric.
Yes, if you teach this game, you have to teach, like, if you got 3 players, it's like you have to teach 3 games. You have to teach someone how to be the Woodland Alliance. You got to teach someone how to be the cats and someone how to be the birds.
So my advice to you, if you want to play this game, is to, regardless of any other circumstance, and even if you don't like to, read the goddamn rules yourself to understand how to play, and force the people you want to play with to read the rules themselves.
And the other thing is that once you've learned 1 or 2 of the
you can learn the rest trivially.
Right? I was able, when I played the otters, I'd never played them before. I didn't get a new rules explanation. All I did was pick up the otter card, which is the trading otters, the river traders. They sell stuff, right? And I just started reading the card. I had already played the game 2 or 3 times as other races. And reading this card, just reading it, I 90% knew how to play the otters because I had played a few times before and I can read, right? And then I only needed an explanation of these details that I probably could have got if I had read every single word on the card instead of just reading, the major important words on the card.
So we've got this like asymmetric political, like kind of crazy game, but it's skinned with the cutest animal art.
My favorite art in the whole game.
Okay, I'm curious
is
because
the card with the bunny bank.
Bunny bank, the Better Burrow bank.
Yes, the bunny bank has the cutest bunny inside the bank, because the bunny that's in the bank is like, hey, money.
I think for me, it's the...
Give me that sack of carrots.
Birdie Bindle is really good.
Birdie Bindle, not bad.
But there's one card...
there's not a lot of bad art at all.
But there's one card
and
with
the meeples
Woodland
are way
Alliance.
good. All the meeples are way good, too.
It's the rabbit ambush card, where the rabbits rise up and kill all the troops. Because it's just these really cute little rabbits, like, hey, but they're wearing little cloaks, and they've just got this big fucking bomb.
Yeah.
This game is so cute. So,
all right, so let's go through the race. All right,
let's talk about the real deal with the game. Let's talk about like how it plays out.
All right, so you got this map, and the maps, depending on which races you got in the game, right, that you're going to deploy dudes onto the map, right? And then you're going to take turns, and on your turn, based on who you are, your turn is completely different.
Yep.
Right? What you do on your turn. Usually you have some sort of, actions you can take of various kinds and different ways of paying to take the actions. And the actions usually involve moving dudes, fighting, getting stuff. You have cards, and the cards are multi-purpose. Cards have text on them that does stuff. You can like build cards. You can use cards to pay costs of certain actions.
Oh,
right?
the screenshot has both Birdie Bindle and Better Bureau Bank on it.
Right. You can get some cards, by doing certain actions. Sometimes draw a card will be an action, right? And you got to pay for those actions using various resources. Sometimes cards are the resource used to pay for the actions.
Yep.
Right? So, of course, everything I said was super vague because every race is super different, right?
So, the high level, like, we'll go through the races and kind of explain their high level deal.
Right. So, the first one you got to learn about is the red one.
The Marquis de Cat.
The Marquis de Cat, which is, like, he's basically, like, the Empire. Right, he starts with cats all over the board.
Yep, he's got this whole economy going on. Cats everywhere.
He's got this giant castle. Right, he's like deploying like all these wooden structures around and building stuff. I'm not sure how the cat wins because I've never been the cat.
Cat's okay.
Whenever I see
I think it's hard for the cat to win when everyone's skilled.
Right. It's like whenever I've only played against the cat, and the cat's always been there. And the feel I get from the cat is they start spread out all over the board.
They start strong and slowly decline.
They slowly decline as basically everyone else is playing races that come on to the board, right? Like all the birds start in one nest and spread out, right? The cat starts out like a blanket over the whole thing, and then everyone rises up and pushes them back. But they're still pretty strong because they're all, they're the Marquis. They're like the Empire. So they participate in a lot of combat, a lot of making sure other people don't win, right? While also building up resources and doing whatever their thing is.
So imagine like a big empire that starts strong, is beset by all sides, think like Rome almost, and slowly collapsing, but they can win by consolidating their power, holding all these enemies at bay and making the right alliances to eventually...
They definitely need alliances, because if everyone goes against them, they got nothing. I guess it's true of anything in a political game.
Demo Weasel in the chat points out that's the card we all forgot about. Mouse in a sack might be the cutest card.
Oh, there's a good one.
I forgot all about that card.
That's a good one.
So the birds are sort of like the antagonists. Like, imagine the story is the cats are the Empire and they're in decline.
The birds are like the elves, right?
Yeah, they're the ancient proud race.
Right, they're hidden away in this one spot in Lothlorien.
They've been knocked out of the world.
They got angered and then they bust out.
Yeah, imagine like they're the old Empire that's trying to come back onto the scene now that the cat Romans are in decline.
Right.
So their deal is they start in one spot and they expand and expand and expand.
They have a shit ton of birds in that one spot.
So you've got this bird empire and this cat empire. They're at war, and that is the primary crux of the game is the war between these two factions.
You could play without either of these two things, but in all the games I've played, both of them have been
actually,
there.
if you look in the rule book, depending on the number of players, there's a list of the options that work.
Yeah.
Like, with this many players, have the birds, the cats, and any of these other factions.
It's best if you obey those, right?
Yeah, it doesn't really work
otherwise. If you play with all vagabonds, it's not going to be too great.
If you have a lot of players, you could have two different vagabonds, two different raccoons that are independently wandering around stabbing people.
Yeah, but like if you only have two raccoons and a trading company, that's going to be a weird game.
So the crux of the game is in the woods. There's this big war going on between the birds and the cats. The third main faction is the Woodland Alliance. These are basically
the cute mice.
These are the forest communists.
Right. So what they do is they start not on the board at all, really.
They're just the normal woodland citizens. They're the bunnies and the foxes and all the other people just living in the woods.
And they get points by placing, basically when other people do stuff, right? They get these cards, other people's cards end up in the mouse stack on the mouse card, the mouse playing mat, right? Like your other people's cards, when they use them, will end up over there because they got to pay the mice, and then the mice will use those cards to perform actions, and they'll put their little fists in different cities on the board, like the little insurrection fists.
So think of the Woodland Alliance.
What are they actually called? I forget the actual name for them.
They're the Woodland Alliance.
No, the name for the fist.
Oh, the
token.
sympathy?
The sympathy.
So here's the deal.
Tokens,
the war's going on.
That city is now sympathetic to the rebellion.
The war's going on. The more warring nonsense is happening between the birds and the cats, the more sympathy the Woodland Alliance, the rebels, who are trying to kick everybody out.
Right. So the main action that, they put these fist tokens out on the board and they get a lot of points. And then they put little little bases out and they get a lot of points for that too. And so they can win just by putting these tokens out. So everyone else has to constantly quell the rebellion. And if you don't, they will win.
So imagine this. This is how the game gets political. The cats and the birds are at war with each other, but they will both sort of tacitly agree to maintain martial law in like the non-disputed territories, so the Woodland Alliance can't get a foothold.
Right.
So I got a war with Scott, but we both have to, while we're warring with each other, keep the communists down.
Right. And what happens is, it's like, okay, I got a fist here and a little base here. I'm playing green, but there's a whole bunch of troops here from the birds. Well, okay, I can't. They're gonna. Not only can I not do much about it, but they can totally destroy my stuff and get points. And right. But let's say I get my fist up, and there's not a lot of guys there. It's not too strong. Now I can basically rise up in that place and kick ass.
So suddenly
there's a bunch of mice on the board in that spot because they revolted.
The last game I played, I was the birds and Chris was the cats, and suddenly the Woodland Alliance busted out real bad.
Yep.
So
you cannot let that happen too often, otherwise they're just gonna win.
So we basically had a truce to go fuck up the Woodland communists before they presented a threat to all of us. So we had to pause our war for the greater good.
All right. So then you got the Vagabond. So the Vagabond
we've got 3 big warring factions, and the Vagabond is just one raccoon.
Literally, you get one token that you move around the map individually.
You're just a cute raccoon.
You're like an adventurer, but actually you're not. You can choose a sort of a subclass when the game starts. Tinkerer is OP, not even gonna lie. It just is. I didn't even know it was OP, and then I looked through all the one time I played Vagabond, I was looking through all the different choices, and I was like, I kind of want to be this one for theme, but Tinkerer seems strong to me. And then I Googled it, like, which one is best? And it was like, Tinkerer, oh my God. And I was like, oh, I guess I was right. Let me be Tinkerer. So the Tinkerer is about making stuff, right? So the way the Vagabond works is you have all these items, right? Now, other people can craft items in the game for various purposes. They get victory points for crafting items. But if you get a Vagabond in the game, suddenly the items do stuff. All the items the Vagabond has let them perform actions. The more items they have, the more actions they can perform, right? And do stuff. They got hammers, they can craft things and make their own items. If they got swords, they can stab people and do attack actions. If they got, the boot, they can move around better, right? There's all the, they start with a few items, but there's more that they get. Some of them they get by going around and questing, and some of them they get by trading with other players. Also, the main way the Vagabond gets victory points is not just by building and getting these items. It's actually just by helping other people. And other people can't refuse your help. You just help them if you want to, right? You can deal with them, I guess, but I just went around helping people.
Yep.
And when you help people, you get mad victory points. So you're in it like a sole adventurer, whether you're a tinker or a fighter or whatever you are. You're just one little raccoon token. You go around the board and you do stuff to help people, and you get points for that. And if you can do more helping before anyone else can win, then you can win.
So think about this. You're just this one little raccoon wandering around in the midst of this giant cataclysmic war. You're just trying to make your way, and you're trying to help everybody enough to where no one quite wins the war, and then eventually you come out on top.
Yep.
So then we got the otters.
So I played the otters most recently.
The otters look real fun. I want to play them next.
I came super close to winning. I could have won if I would have had just like a couple more victory points here or there.
You couldn't quite pull it off.
If I would have micromanaged and thought a little harder, I could have gotten 2 points somewhere, right? I could have built a card or something, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, if you'd been doing better, I was going to just pause my war with the cats.
You had no idea that I had that many points in the pocket.
Yeah, I did.
I pulled out like 8 points in the last turn, like bam.
Yeah, but I could have destroyed basically all of your things.
Yeah, but if I was I was 10 points away from winning. If I was 8 away from winning, you would have destroyed all my things. Come on.
But
anyway,
basically, the otters
are traders. There's the river on the board. And you can't really, the river doesn't really mean anything unless the otter, it means a little bit. But if the otters are in the game, the river means a lot. The otters live along the river. They can help people travel on the river. They can travel on the river, kind of, right?
Well, basically, the otters put up their prices like, hey, it'll cost you X to use the river.
The otters have various services that they sell. The services that they sell are like river traveling. They sell the cards in their hand face outwards on a little thing, and those cards are for sale. You can't deny you set a price every turn. You set your prices for your services, but if someone wants to buy one of your cards, you can't say no. They buy them, right? And what's the other service you have that you sell? I think, it's we fight with you. You can hire us as mercenaries and we'll fight with you.
So if the otters have some people on the board and I need, like, say they're on a place and there's some cats there and I'm the birds and I got to deal with the cats, I could just pay the otters and now the otters fighting for me.
On the otters, I just leave some otters standing around in a city that I know is going to have some warring, and someone else comes along and my services cost whatever I set the price at that turn. Someone pays the price, suddenly the otters get their spears and join the fight, right? So the thing is, about the otters is that when you pay the otters, you pay them with your own dudes. You don't pay them with, like, money or cards. Your dudes that are not on the board right now, just like your wooden meeples, you give them to the otter player, right? So it's like, okay, I want to buy a card from you, Mr. Otter. All right, give me 3 of your dudes that aren't on the board. Okay, well, first of all, your dude supply starts running low if you do this, right? You only have a limited number of dudes.
So, for example, in our last game, the cats got kind of desperate, and they gave you basically all their dudes to pull off a big play.
Which means even if they want to put a bunch of dudes on the board, well, I'm holding on to those dudes. Too bad. And then when you're the otters and you want to perform actions, you spend the dudes that you've got. Not only the dudes other people gave you, but also your own dudes. If no one gave you any dudes, you basically get 2 of your own dudes into your purse for spending, right? And then it's sort of like buying nothing from yourself for 2 dudes automatically, right? So you're going to be able to do stuff. And you spend these dudes in various actions. Some actions that you might perform just sort of put the dudes into a holding pen, and then they go back to the purse next turn. And sometimes for certain actions, you actually have to give the dudes back to the player they came from in order to spend the dudes.
So basically, imagine, like, I don't know, Corsica or Venice. There's a big war going on, and you're outside, like, not in the forest. You're like, hey, there's a war going on. And you slide in along the river and start selling weapons to everybody. And then eventually, everybody fighting the war owes you so much money that you are, in fact, control of the control of the country.
The primary way you score victory points when you're the otters is, the same way everyone else scores victory points, but the number one way is building trading posts, which give you mad points when you put them out on the board. So I basically, and building a trading post costs you other people's dudes, right? You just like all your other actions, building a trading post costs dudes. So I basically had a bunch of dudes, and it was getting close to the end of the game, and I put out like 3 or 4 trading posts all at once. I got a pile of points and was too short of winning. If I had just gotten 2 points earlier in the game, boom, I would have had it.
But you only had that capability because the cats, who were desperate, spent a ton of money with you.
Well, they would have had to, either, right? If they would have still done that if I had 2 more victory points, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you would have looked carefully.
But that's the thing, the game...
But also, if I looked carefully, I would have had 2 more points by then, right?
So basically what this comes down to is it's a pretty well-abstracted, asymmetric, kind of realistic wargamey game with cute animals, and the theme works really well, and the game is just really fun to play and doesn't even take that long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like people were so hype about Root when it first came out, and I was like, my mood on it was like, I like the cute animals, but I'm like, why is everyone so excited? How great can it be? Right?
And I saw other people who weren't our friends playing it, and their games were taking like 4 hours.
Right. I was like, all right, I got to see what the deal is, obviously, right? And then I played it once, and I was like, all right. And then I played it again, and I was like, all right.
The second playthrough is when you see the fun of this game.
And then the third time, I'm like, I think, the first few games of it that I played, it was sort of like, all right, I'll play Root. The time I played most recently with the otters, that was the first time where I was like, bust out the Root.
Scott, wait till you try the birds. Next time we play,
I don't really want to be the birds because they have that whole failing thing.
So here's an example of like a detail, because I played the birds twice, and I really like the birds. They're fun. Mm-hmm. Their deal is they're a proud.
Decree.
So you choose a leader, and there's 4 things you can do on your turn. You can recruit, like make more birdies. You can move your birdies around. You can fight people with the birdies, and you can build stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the leader you pick, you have a wild card in 2 of those spots. So say I start with a wild card in recruit and battle. Every turn, you must do everything in the decree, or your government collapses.
Right, so in the first turn, I recruit and I battle. The next turn,
I have to add another card to the decree every single turn.
So your decree keeps getting bigger. So you have to do everything you did last turn and more every turn. So now I have to recruit, move in battle.
Yep.
The next turn, I have to recruit, move, battle.
And
the
I
next
can't
turn,
only...
I have to recruit, move, battle.
And even better, a decision you can make at the start of your turn, you must add one card to the decree.
Yep.
You may add 2.
Right. Now, this is... Basically, each turn, it's like, wow, I get more actions every single turn. It's like you just keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger.
But then you're in a situation, oh no, there's no one to fight this turn.
It's like, I have to do, all right, recruit. Oh, I don't have enough guys to recruit. Recruit, move. I don't have any legal moves. Recruit, move, battle. There's no dudes in a spot that can battle because I didn't have enough moves.
Yep.
And as soon as you can't do all of the actions, you fail.
Your government just collapses, you lose a bunch of points, you got to pick a new leader, and fun stuff happens.
Yeah. So usually people fail a couple of times every game, except for the game I just talked about.
Where I never failed. My
Rim
decree
somehow managed to play the whole game and never failed at the decree, and therefore won.
The funny thing,
I think if you're the birds and you never fail the decree, you're gonna win.
Yeah,
right?
that is real hard to pull off.
It's sort of like a foregone thing.
I got to a point to where I literally needed someone to attack me to give me an opportunity to attack them back, or I was gonna fail in the decree.
You would have failed the next turn.
I would have definitely failed the next turn.
There's no way you could have maintained.
Because I had built everything I could possibly build. All my roosts were on the board.
Oh.
I literally could not have built another roost.
Yep. Yeah.
So my government would have collapsed.
I think even if you fail just once with the birds, you're still close to winning. You need to fail twice for people
feel
to
like
keep
a
you down.
normal strategy for the birds is to pick a leader, have a strategy, push it hard, fail strategically at the right moment, start your decree over, and then use that to win the game.
Yeah. The thing is, if you start the decree over too late, it won't become big and strong enough. You're taking too few
and you're going to
actions.
lose a bunch of points right when you're trying to push yourself over the edge.
When you fail, right? It's like, oh shit, I don't have enough actions. It's late game and I'm taking like piddly actions. It's no good. I think you need to get big and fail fast, so that way the second decree that I got reset, the weak actions are still early enough in the game, and you'll have strong but barely doable actions towards the end.
But it also
assuming you can't pull off a miracle like never fail.
Yeah, but then when stuff gets interesting is like other players, like maybe the cats will work hard by buying the otters support to make it impossible for the decree to work at a point when the birds did not prepare for that. And that can be fun and weird.
So I think the thing with this game is like, even though I've played it 3 or 4 times, it's still like a low level like understanding, even though I understand how everyone's but the lizard folk and the cats kind of how they work, is that you have this such an asymmetric you're playing your own game thing going on that until you completely understand everyone else's thing and everyone else understands everyone else's thing, then you can get into the play of like, aha, I know how decrees work because I've played birds like 3 times.
Yep.
I'm not the birds now, but I know how to fuck those birds up. Let's make sure Rim's decree fails next turn. I don't think he can make 3 moves if we do this.
Because like,
Rim's like, shit.
Watch a first playthrough with naive players and 3 or 4 players. Like the Woodland Alliance just always wins because
the Woodland Alliance is very straightforward, gets a lot of points, and automatically wins if it's not quelled.
So you watch advanced players play this game, and like the cats and the birds will both be like, all right, let's pause hostilities. We're going to go take out the communists.
The first order of business is like always, don't let green win. Now let's see who else will win.
But then
assuming green's in the game, you might have a green.
Yeah.
You could play red, you could play otters and red and blue.
I forget the list of like what are all the combinations that work.
Yeah.
But don't let this game only takes a super long time to play if the people at your table just suck at playing games.
I'm sure there must also be teaching videos on YouTube to help you learn.
Yeah.
Because it is, like I said, if you're a gamer, if you're listening to a podcast, if you're going to a gaming con, if you play other board games, you can play this game. Don't be scared away by it. The cute animal creatures should help you, but it's not the simplest. You do need, some help learning it.
But
someone to teach you, read the rules, read them again, watch a video.
But one thing I noticed that works, that I like about this game, like a big part of why I think it was fun, even though those learning games, and I've never seen a game do that. Well, I've seen a few games do this well, but it's rare. You only need to have fun with the game. You only need to fully understand how to play your character. and you only really need the flavor text of the rest of the characters to have a vague idea of how to handle them.
Yep.
Like, just knowing that you can trade with the otters, and the otter player will explain how to trade with them. It's really straightforward.
Right. Knowing that if you do this, that will help that player.
Yep, if I trade with the otters too much, it'll make them strong, is enough for me to play in a game where there are otters.
If I do this stuff, I'll be giving too many cards to green. Stop giving so many cards to green.
Yep.
Oh, if I do this, then, the bird's decree will be too easy. Don't do that.
And that's the thing. The fiction of the game
don't give
players,
the vagabond all the good items that they want.
And this
Only
is, I think,
give them some
this is
crappy
what I think
items.
Cole Wehrle brought to the table. That the fiction of the game itself and the flavor text gives you reasonably effective heuristics to play the game.
Absolutely.
Like, that is a rare thing in games. Treasure that when you find it.
Yep. So yeah, this expansion which adds the otters and lizards, right?
Yep.
The game's super hot.
Yeah, the
It's
lizards
not
are
out of
literally
print,
like
though.
cultists.
They just keep printing these things as long as people keep buying them. The only reason I'm not buying one is because anytime I would play the game, I would be with someone who already owns it. So there's no reason for me to buy my own copy, unless suddenly I've got like some people who want to play it with me who don't have one.
Yep. And if you find the game takes way too long, like even after teaching games,
Get better at games.
yeah, find better people to play with.
Yeah, it doesn't take that long for us to play.
I'm
it.
sure someone's implemented this in Tabletop Simulator.
Or something, sure.
All right. I think that was a good show. A lot of people were watching the stream. All right. All right, guys. See ya. Yeah.